Hello everyone, my name is Ian, the part-time Dungeon Master. I run the Seriscan Campaign, and today I'm joined by one of my players, who's better known on the campaign as Regnis Willow, aka Resident Grumpy Pants, aka Mr. Sour. Um, Regnis, do you mind introducing yourself, maybe even plugging yourself for whatever content you create or so on?
Regnis Willow, also known as Keji and a few things, and I'm basically your walking handbook, and I run a few campaigns of my own.
Even started your own website to try and help other people, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
Not fully done yet?
not fully
Yeah,
done.
well, that's fine. So, you mentioned being a walking handbook, uh, and I myself have actually used you a couple of times during the Seriscan campaign as kind of a quick note checker. It's like, hold on, am I thinking of the right rule?
And how
Um,
many times the Manticore attacks?
yeah, I was actually rather thankful for that. And I was like, I looked at it, and I was like, oh hey, I forgot that. Thank you, Regnus, for reminding me that a manticore can throw three spikes.
I mean, I
Uh,
would I would have gone full Fury mode had it killed Atlas.
uh, so, with you joining me and the others on the adventures of the Seriscan campaign, what other experience have you had in regard to Dungeons and Dragons?
Um, so you mean like other RPGs or just other D&D games?
Uh, Other D&D games as well as other RPGs. Either's applicable.
I mean, in terms of other RPGs, I've played, I wouldn't say a vast majority of them, but like a vast majority of like some of the popular ones. And I've played some really obscure ones where you read the rules and you're like, how did this become a game? But in terms of other D&D games, for starting out was just me and a few friends, and then it just you branch off from there, and a lot of them have just been the same repeating friends. But I met you via the DJB, which then DJB apparently had just hundreds of not hundreds, but a couple people who did RPG tabletops, and then that led to like a few splinter people, and then that led to more and more and more. So it's like doing that thing where you start as a rogue and you just start slowly building your criminal empire. Yeah, that happened.
Speaking of criminal empire, that's apparently going to be my other campaign in the Striskin world. I'm
Oh
running for a
no.
few other of the DJB folk.
Oh no.
Yeah, Edgar's going to be heading that apparently. Edgar and
Oh, I
Farron.
am so sorry for you.
I'm sure I can handle it. It's going to be a fun little experiment. Nice little social experiment.
Yeah, social experiment, 'cause he's going to start converting people again.
That is one of their ideas, converting people to the Church of the Laser Pope in order to get more money. Oh,
So they're going to be like Scientology?
I think I'm not really sure as to what the tenets of the Church of the Laser Pope is all about. All I know is they plan on using it for a figurehead ish.
Oh, if you're going to make your own religion, you got to work on the tenets at least.
That is true. Um, Also, speaking of, just essentially as you mentioned before, you do have some dungeon mastering experience. Um, you, of course, being the dungeon master for one of the campaigns that I am with the Spark of War, and me playing Ignis Femend, uh,
Yes. Alms for the poor.
almost with a Paul. Uh, so I have to ask, how quick is it normally for you to come up with decisions on the fly, such as for unclear or unfamiliar rules, or your players deciding to derail everything, or just use some sort of obscure, out of the box thinking?
So for rule making, that's essentially I find that the easiest because I have a very mathematical mind. So it's very easy to just be like, okay, let's see what's a fair DC. That seems like a fair DC. It should be a little tougher for someone who's not experienced. They roll and whatnot. And since I've read books and books tend to stick fairly easily, it's you see all the rules and you're like, okay, that seems real unfair. Tweak that, tweak that, tweak that, but keep it consistent throughout, like you've said a few times. When it comes to derailing, go with it. Just walk with it until it is like so far that like you need to nuke the world. Go with it. there's a point where you always say yes, and then you need to say no. Like if it seems stupid, ridiculous, like what's the comprehensive of that? What's, how are you going to do that? How that would not? That's when you say no. When they give you a legitimate reason, I mean, hey, if they want to try it. Like it's like reading those stories where it's like, I seduced the face spider. Please tell me how a non-spider looking person seduces a creature that merely wishes to eat you.
I'm kind of curious about that myself. How did that work? I'm reminded of the video that I did because it's there. Because sometimes the players will go off on a tangent because it's there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that coffee machine was.
Don't worry, I have a solution for the liquid uranium.
Oh, I did too, which was involving building a nuke, but that would just
No.
destroyed your world, which I wasn't ready to do.
No, the only one allowed to destroy the world is me. Um,
I mean, would you like to know the theoretical way you do that?
oh, I already know the theoretical way of doing that. But the problem is that radiation messes with magical things, so magic might start acting a little weird. Just so you know. Anyways, moving on to the next question.
Oh God.
What is your favorite type of cheese?
Swiss. I'm not a very big cheese person.
Oh, you heathen.
Oh, you're the heathen.
You're the heathen for not liking smoked Gouda and not for being a big cheese person. Well, I guess on to a more serious and less fun topic. Do you think that Dungeons and Dragons and other games and media, as of late, portray the changes in society well enough, or should they portray them more? Like the changes in gender roles, identity, sexuality, politics, and the old way of thinking versus the new way of thinking. Do you think media has portrayed them well enough, or should they be portrayed more in games such as Dungeons and Dragons and so on?
I mean, D&D is all inclusive. I mean, like, there's a lot of the time where, I mean, media has its things, and then D&D has its own stuff. It honestly, when I watch things that make fun of D&D, I don't mind it. It just becomes really painful when they do the stupid things where like they're like clearly no one played the game, where it's like I'm a level 5 dungeon master, and it's like I'm sorry, there's no such thing as a level 5 dungeon master. And it's
Well, apparently someone failed their Dungeon Master class because I am a level 10. I'm kidding.
yes, but like when it comes to the portrayal in the media, it's definitely improved. For a little while we were considered cultists of Lord Satan,
Oh
which
yeah, the
by
good
the way
old
we still
satanic
are.
panic.
Yep. I mean, they had a legitimate reason. Well, hail Satan. Uh, but no. Well, I don't play mini games where people try and do that kind of stuff, but like, it's definitely included. Like I mean, I currently have a player who's, playing a guy, or no, it's a girl being a guy. Yeah, it's a girl being a guy. Because it's in the society, it's a lot more like Arabic and Egyptian. So like you have to, all women are accompanied by a man. You have to dress head to toe. So their character was like, oh, I'm gonna dress up as a guy so I could just walk freely, and it just slowly progressed off of that. And it's a bunch of different things. I personally just don't care. Just make sure your character works.
I mean, I can fully understand that. I'm, like I said, an all-inclusive kind of person because it's Dungeons and Dragons. You play what you want to play. And,
Yeah, you play what you want to play until the DM says no.
Yeah. Yeah. One day I'll have my magical dragon that bakes cupcakes of doom. But, until then.
Would you like one, Sonny? I'm good. Can we just pass through? Not until you have a cupcake.
Yeah, I was threatening one of my dungeon masters one time that I was going to make a magical dragon that uses cupcakes as a form of magic, and he created them with magic and used them to cast spells and so on. And
No.
I went on like a 15-minute rant to him as to how it all works, and he just ended the whole thing with like, no, I will set your paper on fire. No.
No, my favorite one was I built a bar wizard, so all his spell components and all that whatnot are bar materials, and he had a magic item at the start of the game called the mobile bar. It was basically a bag of holding that converted into a bar. So he would just be behind his countertop, just doing like shots of different liquids or mixing drinks and casting spells. And it was honestly one of the most hilarious parts, because the problem was, in order to cast spells, he had to drink. So halfway through, he'd get hammered in the fight and just be like, "Yep, don't worry, I totally got it. Nope, never mind, I'm not shooting." So like his main reliant was magic missile, because it was just something he'd fire off and not even have to worry about it.
I want to hit that guy.
Oh no, my favorite though was at 9th level, he took the wish spell, or when he got to the 9th level spell slots, he took the wish spell. And to do wish, he had to do a shot of absinthe. And the reason behind it was he wishes he was dead when he did this. So he's just like, oh, God, not this again.
Oh, wow. Yeah, fun times everywhere for a lot of weird things out there. But, I agree at least that, as far as the media comes when it comes to Dungeons & Dragons, we're being a lot more inclusive and accepting of different things that we normally would not be accepting of.
Oh yeah, very many. I mean, a good example is Critical Role. They just like, I know the people there aren't, they're all, whatever, but their characters are differently. There's clearly a pair of lesbians in there. There's a whole bunch of different things, and then the whole community off of that is very all inclusive, and it's nice to see things improve from what they were.
Oh, definitely. Especially considering the part of the South that I'm from, that's the whole burn a cross in your front yard for being different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for those of you listening, I do not come from the fun part of the South. But on to much less serious but much more fun topics.
Yay!
Why does your character travel? What made them decide that they needed to leave their homes behind, for those who don't know that yet?
So for Regnis, since he's missing so many years of his life, specifically 8, which, for being a 28-year-old, he still had 20 years that he remembers, which he actually just recently unlocked a few new memories. But since it was every 2 years, essentially, he went into another loop where he lost 2 years until he lost 4 years. And 2 years after that, he was really beginning to worry, crap, I'm just going to go into another blackout period. So I have to find out what's going on. So he just packs up his shit. It's like, hey, Dad, I'm going to be heading out. Dad offers up a contract, and it's like, well, let's see. I can either go out into the wilderness, basically on my own, or I can have some magic powers. Yes, I agree to this. Signs it. And then his brother's like, hey, I want to come too. And it's like, you have to give me good reason to. I am much bigger than you, much stronger. You are allowed.
I mean, that's, very valid in a couple of parts. I don't want my little brother running around, but at the same time, he's stronger, so...
He's much stronger, and if I don't take him along, he'll just follow anyway.
Pretty much.
Although Nala should be good at home, since she has to deal with the suitors and whatever, the household and all that whatnot.
Yeah, well, you obviously don't come from a rich family, but more of a, a well-off family. So
yeah, we come from a well-off family. I'm just this kid of a major goddess. Yep, all good. Not a major goddess, but her solar angel. It's all good.
And also, where did your character learn their craft? Like, how did they become the class? You mentioned, you made a contract with Regnis made a contract with his father, Mastrin, the Archangel of Nalara. But how did he actually learn the spells?
I always interpret it as like, with things like Eldritch Blast, cantrips, those are like innate things, like those are just things you're like, oh, I can do this now. And like, sure, like your first few attempts are going to be crappy, but you then like, oh, this is way easier, and you just start casting it offhand, because I've always viewed it spell slots as, like, since back before I actually played D&D and all I had was like D&D references, I played, those like RPGs on the computer, so there was always mana, so I was like, oh, it's mana. And then I found out, no, it's spell slots. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess that works. But I've always, viewed it as mana, so that, that takes nothing. That's like 1 point of mana. Pff, I can recharge that any moment. And then for the spell slots, I always viewed it as like, maybe like he either had like a divine inspiration, or like he started reading. He just poured through, because he's the big note taker. He's just pouring through tomes and books and just needs to find information. And it's like, oh, I actually might be able to do this spell. Nope. How about this one? Yes. Okay. Oh, speaking of which, I still have to take up a new spell, and I found out which spell I'm going to take because it's one of my favorites.
Oh, which one's that?
Mind Spike, because the brilliant thing about Mind Spike is if they fail their wisdom saving throw, they take, the damage, but then I also immediately know their location. And then when you pair that with Sacred Flame ignores cover bonuses. So if they're behind a wall, I can still go, oh, hi there, burn.
Burn, burn, burn. Also, in the interest of time and all that fun jazz, is there something you would like to know as a player, or you think that your character would know about the current campaign?
Oh, I feel like Regnis. So that dude we fought that was also the fallen Azamar.
Knight Curran, yes.
Yeah, Curran. So clearly he was fallen Azamar.
Yes.
So I wouldn't know that. Damn it.
The question is how he became fallen.
Yeah, because we did kill him, right? If I remember correctly.
Well,
we murdered him. Straight up cold blood, premeditated.
Maybe.
Let's be clear. We're going up against Alethara, which means, Alethara. I said that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alethar. She's a goddess of death and blah, 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 destruction and all the old stuff. And then, he's probably going to be coming back like freaking... I'm going to rip out his spinal cord and use his floss. But no. If anything, he's probably like me. He's probably like me, just finding that stupid piece and being like, oh, this looks fun.
Actually, no. This would actually be unlocked due to Professor Null's tampering. Because while Professor Null unlocked while he unlocked that one memory for you, he does kind of like loosened the locks on the others, so they're kind of slowly uncoming.
Yes.
So, one of the memories that would actually strike Regnis just as he was leaving the vault was that he was the one who made Knight Curran what he is.
Wait a minute.
He's the one who carved.
I made Knight Curran fallen?
Yeah, you were the one who carved the symbol into him using the obsidian dagger. A few other memories in there as well as to what kind of relationship the two of you had, where at one point it seemed like the two of you were very close friends.
Like brothers in arms kind of deal?
Yeah, kind of brothers in arms kind of deal.
Oh, no.
Oh
no.
It's bits and pieces at the moment, but that's what you kind of remember of him, of fighting side by side him at one point.
I now feel like a dick. I gotta convert him back. I had that whole spiel with the freaking Hell Knight. I can do this again. I can do this. Yeah.
All right. And one last question before we get to your questions. With us slowly approaching the close of what I like to call Book 1 of the Seriscan Campaign, since, as you know, campaigns tend to go in arcs, and, they have a climax, a resolution, all that. What do you feel like should be resolved before the end of this, essentially, Book 1 part of the adventure ends, and before we begin the next part?
Resolved, let's see. Well, for one thing, I want to question Tulip a bit more, but in terms of resolution, Regnis did what he wanted. He has the map before him. He knows the locations. He knows what he's going to do, and need be say bye to the party if they're going to be like, oh no, we're not going to really go to your home place. It's like, I'm sorry guys, then I really have to go on my own. But resolution, let's see. Yeah, no, there's like, he has what he needs right now. He has a cup of joy. He has a cup of holy water. He has sedatives, which I don't know how powerful yet. I'm hoping powerful. And then, he's, I wouldn't say content, because there's a lot of things he wants, but, he's, in terms of the story arc, I feel like if it is going to end soon, you've ended it in a good way for Regnis.
Oh, by the way, the cup of happiness that you so sarcastically asked for, it's a cup of chicken noodle soup. Some really good chicken noodle soup, but it's a
Okay,
cup of...
I'm happy you told me that because I had totally some great ideas for playing pranks on people with that, and knowing now that it's chicken noodle soup, that would not go well.
You asked for a cup of happiness, so the machine was like, this would make him happy. So, it's a cup of chicken noodle soup.
Oh
Perfectly
no.
brewed.
It's probably
Oh.
cold. It's probably cold now.
No, good soup's cold too. It depends on how good it is.
I mean, yeah.
All you need is someone with a
I could totally just
prestidigitation spell and, warms it for you.
I could totally just see him though, like, we've run out of everything. Wait. Oh, soup. How I've missed you. I
All
actually
right.
don't think he has prestidigitation.
No, you don't.
No, I have Sacred Flame, Light, Eldritch Blast, Mage Hand. Yeah. Actually, I think I get a new cantrip. No, fourth level. No, I don't.
I think you get a new one at 5th level.
Yeah, and I get a new invocation.
All right, well, now that we're done with my questions, I guess we should move on to yours.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, so what inspired the world of the Seriscan Campaign, if I pronounce that right?
Seriscan.
Seriscan.
Yeah. Uh, that's kind of a hard question, actually. But a bit of an easy answer. Back in the old days of Yahoo chat rooms.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Showing my age a little bit with this one.
I mean, I
Back
remember
in
them.
Not many people do. Um, Back then, there was a lot of role-playing rooms and user-made role-playing rooms for different things and so on. Yeah, there were some of them that were obviously for sketchy things, but others were actually, pretty decent and so on. And none of us could ever really agree as to what's set in stone, what the world should be like, or what it is like. So I started helping with 5 or 6 other people, and we started writing what we called the Grand Realm. And it was essentially this agreed upon large world in which, this area is like this, and this area is like that, and so on. And one of my duties was writing about a great war that had happened. A war that spanned not only all over essentially the planet, but also dealt with the other realms as far as like heaven and hell. And so I wrote that heaven and hell had such a great, battle that was endless that they seeped onto the planet and they ravaged part of the planet with their constant fighting. And I guess from some parts of that came the early forms of the world of Serisca, where my ideas just kind of branched off from that. And when that chat room died out, I just kind of took all the notes that I had made for it and I started trying to write my own novel. And I've started writing about Kahir, who was this unique individual smack dab in the middle of apparently 3 different people's plans. He was a pawn in each of their plans, and he had no control over his own fate, as far as he knew. And it just kind of followed and went on from there. And then I finished that first writing it, and oh god, did I hate it. So I wrote it again. And that took 3-4 years of writing, and I hated it. So I threw it out, and I started again. And I started again. And I started again.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. So it went through at least 10 different iterations and 3 complete books before I just chucked it all into what is essentially known as my scrap bin. It's a small dresser drawer that I have that is literally filled with paper, notes, binders, and other things. And I took all of those and I, started working on, which is essentially going to be the fourth attempt at a book. And a friend of mine suggested, hey, why don't you turn this into the Dungeons and Dragons campaign that, you've always been wanting to run. And I was like, oh, sure. But as far as where the inspirations for the world itself comes from, I borrowed some from, like, Forgotten Realms, some from Dragonlance, some from even the campaigns I was playing in with the Greyhawk OD&D groups that I was playing with.
Bravo.
Yeah. One of them, actually, he's a paladin, and in the current campaign, he is technically one of the high commanders of the Holy Order. His name is Alexander von Gelden, or better known as Alexander the Hammer. And he was based off of Danis, the Paladin of Tyr, from the original Dungeons and Dragons group.
Nice.
Yeah. Alexander the Hammer was a short-tempered, very strict, by the book, by the code, no nonsense kind of paladin. He will hurt you if he catches you doing any kind of evil. So, yeah. Kind of a hard ass.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But, to balance him out, whenever I wrote him with 3 other paladins. Actually, 2 other paladins and a cleric. The cleric, I can't remember what I named her now that I think about it, but she was essentially a soft side to him. She would always get him to ease up and everything. The female paladin was more of kind of like a student to him, someone he was trying to guide to be on that very straight and narrow path that he walked. And the last paladin was named Trevor, and I remember Trevor out of all of them the most because he was hilarious. Because at any point, he would probably say something he really shouldn't be saying. But he didn't mean it in a malicious way, but more of he forgot to use that filter between his brain and his mouth.
So many people.
Like so many people. But he was such a good-hearted, good-natured person. It would be like, staring down some ugly creature, and he just blurt out, "My God, you are ugly as sin. I think I should smite you just to put a blessing upon the earth." So, that's kind of the rough as to where the whole idea of the Seriscan world came from.
Right. Follow-up question. Has there yet been a point where we've derailed your campaign?
No.
All right. Good. We're not trying hard enough. I'm joking. I hate doing that to a DM because I know the feeling.
Oh, well, first off, good luck derailing this thing, what I've got planned. You see, I've been working on this world so much that I know every little intricacy about it. That's kind of sad, but at the same time, pretty awesome. I even know where the other campaign is going to take place, how it's going to work, and who it's going to interact with.
Yeah, it's the Shaded Isles, right?
Oh, you're thinking of the Misted Isles.
Misted Isles.
The Misted Isles, or the Isles of Awa. And no, it will not be taking place there.
Oh, it's not? You changed it?
No, it's going to be taking place... Yeah, I did change it. I'm going to be putting it in Aloria.
Huh.
Because, it's a crime campaign.
Seems...
Why not have it in a place with lots of crime?
Yeah, it seems fitting. A lot of rival gang ships.
Sorry, finishing off my tea.
Oh, it's all good. I'm just doing a lot of things all at once.
When are you not doing a lot of things at one time?
Sleeping. Like that's when you'll find me doing the least amount of things.
I still find that doubtful.
I mean,
I bet you like multitasking your dreams.
You're right, but like I said, it's when you'll find me doing the least amount of things because you can immediately remove quickened breath, movement. It's when you can remove a lot of things. That's generally where I take every note from the outside world and cram it in there and go, okay, now we have to sort this. No, maybe, no, gods, no, no.
Well, you did once at one point ask me a question, and I don't think I ever answered it. What got me into dungeon mastering,
Yeah,
compared to being just a player?
yeah, because my mine my my answer to that is a funny one, but I want to know
Oh,
yours.
really? Oh, well. Now I feel like I've got to live up to an expectation so I can hear yours. Um, so I had been playing Dungeons and Dragons for about about 3.5 to 4 years at this point. I had been playing the original Dungeons and Dragons First Edition and Second Edition. I had jumped around those with my original group, and once again, just kind of realm hopping with my favorite rogue, and once in a while switching out with a different character. But for the most part, Oric the Thief was my mainstay. And then a couple of friends of mine decided, hey, we want to play Dungeons and Dragons 2. We've never done it before, but Ian, you've played it before, haven't you? And I'm like, well, yeah, I've played some of the older ones. And they gave me this thing called Pathfinder. And I'm like, this is not what I'm familiar with, but give me a few nights to read over it and I'll see what I can do for you. And Steve,
Oh,
fuck you, Steve,
this is
gave me his books because they were all his books. He gave me the Rise of the Rune
yeah.
Lords campaign book. And there was just like these little footnotes throughout the entire thing. And I'm like, I'm just glancing at everything, and I can tell you have read through this entire book. I was like, okay, so why am I the dungeon master if he's read through all the books? All right, whatever. So, uh, I ran the literal first session of Rise of the Rune Lords, what is essentially, the opening with the goblins attack and everything. I ran that, and from then on, I changed everything.
Good. Yeah, because
And it was
I remember seeing that video. I forgot. I totally. Yeah, fucking Steve.
fuck you, Steve. Um, But as far as what convinced me to Dungeon Master was that it was my friends. They said none of them had the experience, and I was the only one who's had any experience. And so I jumped from second edition to Pathfinder, which was essentially 3.5 extended. And I stayed with Pathfinder for a very long time until I finally jumped over to fifth edition.
Sounds nice.
Yeah. Now you gotta tell me yours. What got you into dungeon mastering? Dungeon mastering.
So you know him as Tisto or King Gang.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was 12 when we first played, and first time playing, I played a human fighter. The most generic thing. I asked my dad, well, what's the best way to play? A lot of fun. And growing up, we played more and more and more. And as time got on and on, I just found his campaigns more and more, I don't know, like kind of disconnected from reality and kind of like overly done and overly stupid, if you get what I mean. Like, there'd be, it'd be like almost like he's trying to force humor. Like you'd hear a laugh track in the background, and you're just like, it's not funny. And my my very like my in one of my bad things, and I know it's a bad thing, is my inherent thing is whenever I see someone play a game or do something, sometimes my first instinct is I can do that better. Yeah, I can do that better. So my first instinct was I'm going to do it better. So I wrote out like this first campaign, and it was very railroady. No one played it. Thank the gods for that. But it was very railroady, and I want to say it was fresh. No, it was senior year of high school is when I ran my first game, because in the middle of physics, I started jotting down notes for. I wanted to do 5e, but I just started making notes, and they aligned more with like a Pathfinder race. So I just said, "Fuck it, I'm going Pathfinder." And it was this world where like everyone is born with this tattoo on their back that symbolizes an animal, and you get like these animalistic traits. So like the dogs have their kingdom, the cats have their kingdom, bears, birds, and like then there were like super weird myth ones where like they were a vampire race and blah blah blah. And it started out, it was actually a lot of fun. Enjoyed it. And it was weird because I was like, oh my god, I love telling stories. I mean, honestly, I prefer playing more, but that's just me. But after that, it was just I kept doing it again and again and again and again and again and again. And it's gone to the point where I'm currently running 2 campaigns. I have a third one on its way. I'm playing in like multitudes of different other campaigns, but I've timed it where like some of my campaigns are text based, so it's a respond when you can. Other ones are we meet every so often on this day, and they're timed so perfectly that I just managed to make them all. And it's just this basically started with me going, I can do it better. Which
So that raises the concern from my end. Is like, have you stared at the Seriscan campaign so far and said, I can do this better?
no, I haven't stared at it and gone, I can do this better. I've stared at it and gone, huh, okay. He might be forgetting that rule, but who cares? It's more fun that way. Like, because there's been a lot of times where I should have been hit with an attack of opportunity, and I should have been hit.
Yeah, I attack of opportunity is honestly one of the weaker ones for me. It's like, shit, I keep forgetting about that.
I mean, because the other thing is, oftentimes what I do is when I don't do it, I know that's because I have other reactionary abilities.
Oh, hey, seems we're out of time. Thank you again, Regnis Willow, aka KG, aka Kelker, aka the Living Player's Handbook, for joining us and answering any of my questions and asking a few of your own. And ladies and gentlemen of the audience, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next interview. Laters.